My parents called me a dead end at my sister's $250,000 wedding. They just didn't know I owned the venue.
I always knew I was the disappointment. Not the loud kind, not the scandal kind, the quiet kind. The kind parents lower their voices about at family gatherings. My name is Elena. I'm 29 years old, and according to my parents, I was the child who never quite made it. My younger sister Ava? She was the golden one. Private school, luxury vacations, designer everything. And this weekend? A $250,000 wedding at the most exclusive vineyard estate in the state, paid for entirely by my parents. Or at least, that's what they thought. I wasn't even supposed to attend. 3 months before the wedding, my mother called me. Elena, we don't want you embarrassing us. Embarrassing them. Because I didn't have a corporate job. Because I didn't wear heels and blazers. Because I moved out at 18 and never asked them for a cent again. I build things, while they chased appearances. I run a hospitality investment group. Not flashy, not loud, but strategic. 5 years ago, when my parents were too busy funding Ava's influencer lifestyle, I was working 18-hour days negotiating distressed property acquisitions, including a vineyard estate that had just filed for bankruptcy, the same vineyard hosting Ava's dream wedding. But no one in my family reads business filings, they just read Instagram captions. The wedding day was exactly how I imagined. Crystal chandeliers hanging between oak trees, white roses imported from Italy, champagne towers glistening under sunset light. And my mother? Floating. "Oh, Ava, this is perfection," she kept saying, loud enough for everyone to hear. When I walked in wearing a simple navy dress and low heels, my aunt actually blinked like I'd materialized from thin air. "Elena, you came?" My mother's smile tightened. "Well, we didn't expect you." Translation: "You're not dressed for our world." At cocktail hour, I stood near the bar, listening. My father was holding court with Ava's future in-laws. "Yes, we spared no expense. $250,000. Only the best for our daughter." He didn't see me behind him. "And Elena?" one of them asked politely. My father laughed. "Oh, she's still figuring things out." Figuring things out. I've closed multi-million-dollar deals in silence, but to him, I was unfinished. Dinner began at sunset. Gold place cards, custom menus embossed with Ava and Daniel's initials. And then came the speeches. My father stood first. He tapped his glass. The entire vineyard went silent. "Ava," he began, "from the day you were born, we knew you were destined for greatness." I felt the air change. And while not all our children took the same path, murmurs, my stomach tightened. He smiled in my direction. "Some dreams are investments, others are lessons." The crowd laughed politely, like humiliation served with champagne. I didn't react. I just sipped my water, because timing matters. After the speech, my mother cornered me near the restroom. "Elena, must you look so smug?" "Smug? I'm just observing." She leaned closer. "Ava's life is secure. She married into legacy, stability. What do you have?" I held her gaze. "Assets." She rolled her eyes. "Paper dreams don't compare to real success." Paper dreams. I almost smiled. An hour later, something interesting happened. The event manager approached my father, whispered something. He frowned, walked away with her, then came back pale. My mother followed. They were escorted toward the administrative building at the edge of the vineyard, the same building I renovated 2 years ago. I waited 5 minutes, then I followed. Inside the office, voices were raised. "There must be some mistake," my father was saying. The event manager looked uncomfortable. "Sir, there's an outstanding balance." "That's impossible. We paid the deposit." "Yes, but per contract, final ownership transfer required a revised payment schedule." My mother looked confused. "Ownership transfer?" And that's when I stepped inside, because sometimes the door opens exactly when it should. My heels echoed on the tile floor. All 3 turned toward me. The event manager straightened immediately. Ms. Marquez, my father blinked. Excuse me? I walked calmly to the desk. Is there a problem? The manager hesitated. They weren't aware of the acquisition. Acquisition? My mother's face drained of color. What acquisition? I folded my hands. I purchased this vineyard 18 months ago, through my firm. Silence. Pure, stunning silence. My father laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. Stop this nonsense. I slid a document across the desk. Official seal, ownership papers. My name, Elena Marquez, managing partner. I didn't want to interrupt the celebration, I said softly, but since we're discussing investments. My mother grabbed the papers. Her hands trembled. This isn't possible. It was public record. You couldn't afford this. I tilted my head. You never asked what I could afford. My father's voice hardened. So what is this? Some pathetic attempt to show off? No. It was leverage. But I didn't say that. Instead, I looked at the event manager. Is the wedding fully operational? Yes, ma'am. Good. I'd hate for my sister's night to be disrupted. My parents stared at me. I continued. The balance they're concerned about? Consider it settled. My father looked stunned. You're paying it? I already did. 3 days ago, after noticing the accounting discrepancy, because unlike them, I read contracts. My mother sank into a chair. You let us believe that you paid for this? I finished gently. You wanted the credit. Silence again, this time heavier. Outside, music swelled. Ava and Daniel were announced for their first dance. Applause erupted. My father looked at me like he was seeing a stranger. You did this without telling us. I shrugged slightly. You never asked what I was building. He opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time in my life, he had nothing. I walked back toward the reception. The chandeliers glowed brighter now, warmer. Guests smiled at me differently. Word travels fast in elegant spaces. The event manager whispered to a server, the server whispered to a guest, and suddenly the dead-end daughter became something else. Ava approached me near the dance floor, her eyes sharp. Why is Dad upset? I held her gaze. Accounting confusion. She studied me. You look awfully calm. I like knowing where I stand. She leaned closer. You've always been jealous. Jealous? Of curated perfection? Of dependency disguised as success? I smiled faintly. Enjoy your night, Ava. But here's the thing. Revenge isn't loud. It's controlled. And I wasn't finished. Because owning the venue, that was only the beginning. My firm didn't just buy the vineyard. We restructured its debt, including a silent partnership clause, a clause my father unknowingly signed when he wired the deposit, a clause giving preferred investor status to immediate family stakeholders, which meant something very interesting, something no one at that wedding realized yet, not even Ava. As the night deepened, I stood alone on the balcony overlooking the estate, the same land they said I'd never rise above, the same parents who called me a lesson instead of a dream. My phone buzzed. A message from my legal advisor. It's active. I looked back at the glowing reception, at my parents laughing nervously with guests, at Ava twirling in white silk. They thought the surprise was over. They were wrong. Because tomorrow morning, the ownership announcement goes public. And when it does, the Marquez Vineyard won't just belong to me. It will redefine who in this family was ever a dead end. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was anxious, but because I knew what morning would bring. At exactly 8 a.m., the press release went live. Marquez Hospitality Group acquires historic Silver Oak Vineyard. Local business journals, state investment bulletins, even the society pages that covered Ava's wedding. Ownership, Elena Marquez. Not my father, not my mother, me. By 8:17 a.m., my phone exploded. Missed calls, texts, voicemails. My father called 6 times in 3 minutes. I let it ring. Revenge isn't about yelling, it's about timing. At 9:02 a.m., Ava called. I answered. Her voice wasn't soft anymore. What did you do? Good morning to you too. You humiliated us. I almost laughed. Humiliated? You mean by purchasing commercial property legally? You did this on purpose. Yes. Silence. At least she was honest enough to hear it. You couldn't just let me have one day? She snapped. You had the day. I mean without making it about you. That's the funny thing about power. It only becomes visible when people realize they don't have it. I didn't interrupt the wedding, I said calmly. I didn't grab a microphone. I didn't expose anyone. You let Dad brag. I let him assume. She lowered her voice. What is this really about? Finally, a real question. It's about being called a dead end, I said, in front of 300 people. She exhaled sharply. He didn't mean it like that. He did. And deep down, she knew it. An hour later, my parents showed up at my condo, unannounced. My doorman called upstairs. I told him to let them up. When they walked in, they looked smaller, not poorer, not weaker, just uncertain. My father didn't sit. You blindsided us. I folded my hands. No, I built something you didn't notice. My mother's voice trembled. You let us pay for our daughter's wedding at your property. Yes. Why? Because you never thought I could own it. But I didn't say that. Instead, I walked to my desk, opened a folder, and slid another document toward them. My father read it. His jaw tightened. What is this? Page 14, I said softly. He flipped, and there it was, preferred investor clause. Any family member contributing over $100,000 to property operations would receive equity conversion options upon public restructuring. He looked up slowly. You're saying... I'm saying, I interrupted gently, that your $250,000 wedding payment didn't just fund one night. My mother whispered, No. It converted. Silence filled my living room. Into 12% equity. My father stared at the numbers. That's not possible. It's already processed. You tricked us. No, I said calmly. You signed without reading. That hurt him more than anything, because he prides himself on being careful, disciplined, superior. But arrogance makes people sloppy. My mother sank into the chair. So what happens now? Now? I leaned back. You're minority stakeholders. In your company? In the vineyard division. My father's pride flared. I don't want your charity. It's not charity, it's return on investment. He stood abruptly. You think this makes you better than us? No, I think it makes us equal. But I didn't say that. Instead, I asked him something he wasn't prepared for. Why was I a dead end? The question hung between us, raw, uncomfortable. He didn't answer immediately. You didn't follow the plan. What plan? The path we set. The corporate ladder? Yes. I built my own ladder. And risked everything. Yes. And if you failed? I would have owned that too. My mother looked at me differently then, like she was seeing the years she missed. You never asked us for help. You never offered without conditions. That one landed. My father paced. So what is this? Punishment? No. Then what? Closure. But revenge is rarely that simple. It's recognition, I said quietly. For once. 3 days later, the vineyard hosted a post-wedding brunch. Investors, community leaders, press, my press. I invited my parents as stakeholders. They arrived early, nervous. People greeted them differently now, not because they paid, but because they owned, through me, and everyone knew it. When I stepped up to speak, microphones angled toward me, cameras flashed. 18 months ago, I began, This property was facing liquidation. Murmurs. Today, it stands as a revitalized community landmark. Applause. I continued. And I'd like to acknowledge two unexpected investors who contributed significantly to this milestone. I turned toward my parents. My mother's eyes widened, my father stiffened. Their belief, intentional or not, helped secure this estate's future. Soft laughter rippled through the crowd, not cruel, just aware. My father slowly stood. Polite applause surrounded him. For the first time, he wasn't the one giving the speech. He was part of mine. After the event, Ava approached me. No designer smile this time, just honesty. You win. I shook my head. This wasn't about winning. Then what? I looked at the vineyard stretching behind us. It was about not being invisible. She studied me carefully. You could have told us. You never asked. She swallowed. That hurt you, didn't it? Yes. A long pause. I didn't think you cared, she admitted. I didn't think you noticed. A week later, something unexpected happened. My father asked to meet for lunch. Just us. No mother, no sister, no audience. He looked older, quieter. I read everything, he said. All the filings, all the growth reports. I waited. You built this from nothing, yes, and you never came back asking for approval. No. He exhaled slowly. I was wrong. Those 3 words. I'd imagined them 1,000 times, but hearing them didn't feel victorious. It felt heavy. I shouldn't have called you a dead end. Silence. You weren't the path I understood, he added, but you were building something I didn't see. I nodded. I didn't need you to understand it, I said. I just needed you not to diminish it. He looked down at his hands. I don't know how to fix that. You don't, I replied gently. You just stop repeating it. Here's the truth about revenge. It feels powerful for a moment, but respect? That lasts longer. The vineyard's value tripled within 6 months. We expanded into destination events, luxury retreats, corporate summits, and every quarterly report gets emailed to all stakeholders, including my father. He reads them carefully now. Last month, Ava called me, not to argue, not to compete, but to ask for advice. She and Daniel are launching a sustainable wine label under the estate brand. Guess who approved the proposal? Me. Because power isn't about crushing people, it's about deciding when not to. Do my parents still struggle with pride? Yes. Do I still remember that speech? Absolutely. But here's what changed. They don't introduce me as figuring things out anymore. Now they say, this is our daughter, she owns the vineyard. And sometimes, that's enough. They called me a dead end, but I was never the end. I was the foundation. They just didn't recognize the blueprint until they were standing on it.